So Tap Jaker and Amy Cloudboot-Jar had honestly one of the worst segments I've seen in cable news history. That's not an exaggeration. I really, really, really hated this conversation. Now, at first when you see it, you might say, I don't know, why does Kyle hate it so much? I'm going to explain it. Don't worry. As soon as we come back from this clip, I'm going to explain it. The questions are terrible, and her answers are just as bad, if not worse. And they just end up totally disconnected from the American people and what's really happening. So let's take a look, and then I'll break it down.
I want to begin with 2020 presidential candidate and Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar, joining me now from her home state of Minnesota. Senator Klobuchar, let's start with the strong economic news out on Friday. The economy added more than 250,000 jobs, better than economists expected. Unemployment is at its lowest level in almost 50 years. Wages grew faster than prices did. Do you give President Trump the credit?
I give our workers and our businesses the credit, Jake. When you're out there across the country, you see people working harder and harder every day. And this has meant that our businesses are strong and we're selling American goods. That being said, a lot of people aren't sharing in this prosperity because of the cost of college, the cost of health care, the fact that the president had promised that he would bring down the prices of their prescription drugs, and that just hasn't happened. So when you get out there and you see the energy out there and the concern, talk to farmers who are trying to sell their soybeans. There is people out there that are not sharing in this economic prosperity, and it's not fair, and it's not the American way. So while we attribute a lot of this to our workers and to our businesses, we know we can do better as a country.
Unemployment is the lowest it's been since I was 9 months old. You're really not going to give President Trump any credit for that in terms of his tax cuts or deregulation or anything he's done?
You know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about when we were in that downturn and President Obama came into office and he had to deal with that with the Congress to try to, one, right the financial industry and then, two, get us on the road to recovery. And I remember that the Republicans were giving him grief when he took any credit for that. So I think that we have had policies in place starting with President Obama that have aided that recovery. But what I believe is that we should be governing from opportunity and not chaos. And my problem with President Trump, and I think the problem you're seeing from the citizens of this country when you mentioned those numbers and what's happening is they see chaos every day. They wake up in the morning and they see a mean tweet, or they see some inconsistent policy that causes chaos during the day. They want to have a leader that their kids can look up to.
Oh my God, I hate you both so much, and you both suck at this. Amy Cloudboot-Jar, feeling like she has nowhere to go with that, does the old decorum tap dance. Why can't we have a president who's a serious person? Yes. Are you serious? Listen, you think Americans didn't know when they voted for him? You think they didn't know? You think they thought, like, the reason we like this guy is because he has decorum and civility. No, they didn't care. They saw he had a lack of it, and they were like, okay, that's fine. We don't care. Maybe, just maybe, they don't prioritize that. Now, okay. Let's get into the specifics here. The question from Jake Tapper is horrendous. The question from Jake Tapper is, well, according to all of the, the metrics that I'm told to use to judge the economy by the richest people in the country who are the most out of touch, we're doing wonderful. Unemployment is low. The stock market is up. I mean, what? How can anybody be against this? Are you against this? How can anybody be against this? Oh my God, Jake. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Now, if Amy Cloudboot-Jar didn't objectively suck at this, she could have absolutely obliterated that because that's a softball down the center of the plate. And, I hope Bernie, I hope Tulsi, I hope anybody listening right now, I hope that this gets to them because you cannot buy into the premise of what they're saying. The premise of what they're saying is, what do you mean the economy is wonderful? End of discussion. That's it. It's over. Economy's great. That's it. So how do you respond to that? You say, no, it's not. It's not. It's not even close to great. 78% of the American people are still living paycheck to paycheck. 50% of wage earners in this country make $30,000 a year or less. 44 million Americans don't even have health insurance. Also, 44 million Americans have $1.3 trillion in student loan debt. 40% of Americans can't afford a $400 emergency. Now, even on their own grounds, because it's a fair response to say, well, Kyle, that doesn't get to exactly what they said. Okay, well, let's address exactly what they said. They keep bringing up the unemployment rate. Oh, it's the lowest ever. Oh, yeah. Donald Trump, when he wasn't president, he would always use an unemployment rate that was more accurate, and it reflected the state of our economy much more. So there's the official unemployment rate, and then there's other versions of the unemployment rate, and there's this version called the U6 unemployment rate. So what the U6 includes is workers who are part-time for purely economic reasons. So in other words, people who want to work full-time, but they can't find a full-time job. So they are counted as underemployed in the U6 analysis. And that is more accurate, because that is true. If you're working part-time, you want to work full-time, you're what's called underemployed. Okay? And then also, it includes people who have given up. So the way that they do the official unemployment rate is, okay, if you've given up on trying to find a job, we're not going to count you. Wait, what? So in other words, somebody could look for a year and a half or 2 years or 3 years, and they don't find anything, and they're like, all right, fuck it, I give up. And according to the official unemployment rate, what do you mean? They don't even count. They're not unemployed. They're literally unemployed. Like, that's literally what they are. They're unemployed. Just because they've been unemployed for a while doesn't mean they don't count anymore. What, do you erase them from existence? Yes, that's what they do in the original official unemployment rate. So, you ready for this? What's the U6 unemployment rate in this country? 7.3. 7.3% of the country is actually unemployed or underemployed. So, even with their own standards, they're wrong. As it, the economy's so great, almost 1 out of 10 people don't have a job or are underemployed. The economy's wonderful, it's doing so great. That's just not true. You know what's doing well? The stock market. You know what's doing well? Corporate profits. You know what's doing well? The billionaires. They're doing well. And it's just that the metric that we use to measure how well our country is doing, the yardstick is incorrect. Andrew Yang talks about this all the time to his credit. He's like, this doesn't give you an accurate reflection. How can it be? Oh, the economy's so well, which implies everybody's doing so great. Then why is it that depression is at an all-time high? Why is it that opioid abuse is at an all-time high? Right? These are very basic, simple questions that one would ask. If everything's so great, then why are all these other problems popping up? And why are you ignoring from the analysis that 78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck? Because the way that they measure it is deeply, deeply, deeply flawed. It doesn't give you an accurate picture of how everybody's doing it, of how everybody's doing. So, if you're asked this question and you're a Democratic candidate, you better know how to respond. Because if you don't, you're done. How are you going to connect with the American people? If Jake Tapper says, the economy is perfect, it's so great, and your response is, yeah, but Trump does mean tweets. You expect to win an election with that? No, you're beyond embarrassing. Drop out. You should have dropped out yesterday. You should have dropped out the day before yesterday. You got to stop. This is sad. I've never seen anything this sad in my life. No, your reaction has to be, are you kidding me? The economy's not great. The economy is doing terrible. And here's why. And you break it down like I just broke it down for everybody. So, hopefully that helps. Bernie, Tulsi, I hope you're watching. And now you know how to respond. Because you're going to get this question. This question is going to come up in the debates. And you better have a great response to it.